Hello, everyone. Welcome to Unit 3, Day 6. And today we're going to talk about how cell respiration and photosynthesis work together. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're looking at Unit 3, Day 6. And today's aim is how do cell respiration and photosynthesis work together? And the very short answer that we've been hinting at all week that I'm going to annotate at the top of your diagram is the fact that these are processes that work together in a cycle, right? So the products of photosynthesis are the reactants of cell respiration, and the reactants of cell respiration are the products of photosynthesis. So these two processes work in concert within an individual plant cell and also within our ecosystem. So pretty cool stuff. Let's go ahead and continue. So question number 1. Which statement best describes cellular respiration? Cellular respiration converts energy in food into a more usable form, specifically ATP. But this last one here, it stores energy in food molecules. That could be talking about photosynthesis, right? Because photosynthesis harnesses light energy from the sun to synthesize organic molecules, glucose specifically. Which process usually uses carbon dioxide molecules? We know that autotrophic nutrition or photosynthesis uses carbon dioxide molecules. Carbon dioxide is a reactant in the process of photosynthesis, which is handy for us as humans because we exhale carbon dioxide and plants go ahead and take it in to undergo photosynthesis. Oh, all right, and let's go on to part A. So this should be easy peasy for you guys after the projects that you did this week, but let's go ahead and write out the formulas for cellular respiration and photosynthesis. So for cellular respiration, we start out with oxygen plus glucose yields. Let's do a different color for the other side of this equation. CO2, which is a waste byproduct, we exhale that. Water, which we need in other ways, but in this case is again a waste byproduct, and we exhale that. We exhale, a little bit of water. And then the all important ATP, the reason for the process, the energy that is used by our cells. So photosynthesis starts with CO2 plus H2O plus light energy, right? So this is energy, and so is this. And then it yields O2, glucose, the reason for the process, and those are the products of photosynthesis go on to be the reactants in cell respiration and the reactants in photosynthesis are the products of cell respiration. And I hope you guys can see that. I tried to do the color coding so you could see the two equations balance each other out, right? And that's because these processes occur in harmony with each other, creating balance in the ecosystem and within individual plant cells. So cool. Gotta love it. So, what do we notice about the products and reactants of each reaction? Ooh. The products of cell respiration are reactants of photosynthesis and vice versa. Right, so the two processes occur in a cycle. So we're going to describe the two processes work in a cycle. Within plant cells and our broader ecosystem. And this keeps oxygen levels relatively constant, and in theory, it would also keep carbon dioxide levels relatively constant. However, humans have this nasty habit of setting fossil fuels on fire and releasing all of this carbon dioxide by the process of industrialization and also driving our cars around. So we really only balance oxygen in the atmosphere via this process, but they work together in a cycle. They feed off of each other within a plant cell and also within our ecosystem at large, and they play a part in the carbon cycle, which we're going to talk about later when we talk about ecology. So, part B, food, matter, and energy. An apple is a type of food. It contains complex organic compounds. Its atoms are held together as molecules by chemical bonds that are rich in stored energy. When you eat an apple, you get both the matter and the energy you need to build your body to stay alive. The apple tree that produced the fruit represents the groups of organisms that are autotrophic. So we've talked about these words several times, but here we're defining it explicitly. Autotrophic meaning self-feeding, right? So troph is energy, auto is self, creates its own energy. Like other plants, the apple tree makes its own food, taking in the inorganic substances, carbon dioxide and water, and changing them into organic compounds such as sugars and starches, glucose. And this is via the process of photosynthesis. Humans represent the other groups of organisms, which are heterotrophs, meaning other feeders, right? So hetero means other, and troph means energy. So we get our energy from other sources. We consume. So we are consumers. Ooh. We're consumers, whereas plants or autotrophs are producers. Right, so they produce and we consume. And sometimes we consume other consumers, but the energy, the organic compounds still originally came from this process of photosynthesis that takes inorganic substances such as carbon dioxide, water, and the abiotic factor of light from the sun, light energy originating from the sun, to synthesize the glucose that exists on Earth. Dope. Fascinating. Really cool. All right. Since they cannot make their own food, humans and all other animals must get their complex organic compounds by eating other organisms, sometimes plants and sometimes animals. For the apple tree to combine inorganic raw materials of CO2 and H2O into organic compounds such as sugar and starch, it needs a source of energy. The rays of sunlight, as they fall on the leaves of the apple tree, provide energy. So now we're adding in this abiotic factor of sunlight into our photosynthesis equation. The process of making this food by using light as a source of energy is called photosynthesis. All green plants are photosynthetic autotrophs, right? So autotrophic nutrition is photosynthesis. Without plants to capture the energy of sunlight and convert it into chemical forms that are edible, most animals would have no constant source of food and could not exist. So if you think about it, plants are like solar panels that harness the energy of the sun, like storing its energy like a battery. And when we eat plants, when we eat the organic compounds that are synthesized by plants via photosynthesis, it's kind of like we're getting the energy stored in that battery. Plants are like solar panels that store energy for the earth. Pretty cool stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and apply some of this knowledge. Part C, free response. Base your answer to the following questions on the lake ecosystem represented below and on your knowledge of biology. State one piece of evidence from diagram indicated that light penetrates to the bottom of the lake. So how can we tell that light penetrates to the bottom of the lake? Well, if you look down here, there's plants down there. Plants are growing at the bottom of the lake. And if you've ever seen like a blobfish or an anglerfish, you know that deep down in the ocean, there are animals and plants that exist in a completely different plane of existence. They use different chemicals to synthesize their energy because they do not have access to light energy from the sun. But in this case, we can see that regular plants that we would be familiar to up here in surface world, right? Plants are growing at the bottom of the lake. So sunlight provides energy for photosynthesis. State the equation for the process by which the duck in the picture obtains energy to swim. So the duck obtains his energy to swim via cellular respiration. So he combines oxygen plus glucose to yield CO2, water, and ATP, baby. And that's his source of energy, is the ATP. And we'll just label this out as cell respiration. State the equation for the process by which the plants in the picture obtain energy for food. Why, that's photosynthesis, of course. So let's go ahead and state that equation once again for good measure. And we can use the equation right above us to check ourselves. So in photosynthesis, let's start with the products of cellular respiration. We start with carbon dioxide, which plants gather from the atmosphere, plus H2O, which plants obtain through their roots from the ground, plus sunlight, energy, putting the photo and photosynthesis to yield. Now we can look at the reactants of cellular respiration to give us a clue as to what we yield in photosynthesis. And we yield oxygen that is excreted by plants but is inhaled by humans. Thank you, plants. And also the all-important reason for the process, the production of the organic molecule of a glucose. Explain how carbohydrates provide energy for life functions. Carbohydrates store chemical energy in their bonds, which are broken down via the process of cellular respiration. In the presence of oxygen to produce ATP, which is energy used by the cells to carry out life functions. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Unit 3, Day 6. Today we talked about how the processes of photosynthesis and cell respiration work together to sustain life on Earth. And we went through these two processes together, how they work in a cycle. And I hope this gave you some inspiration for your TikToks or whatever other creative product you are going to produce for part 3 of the Unit 3 synthesis project. All right, guys, I hope you have a super fantastic day, and I'll see you all tomorrow on Zoom. Bye, guys.